Dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to the Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey Podcast, episode 287. In the studio, M, live.
Yes.
Or is it Memorex, Chris? How you doing?
I'm doing really, really good.
Really good.
Yeah,
Popped up
to Reno to see my mom, spend a day or a day and a half working with her and helping her out around the house. And now I'm shaking a little bit.
Uh-oh. Is it cold? It is. It was 12 degrees this morning when I got up.
Yeah, it was definitely chilly.
Holy smokes, man. Winter is here. It's December already. And Christmas is only a few days away, apparently.
It's it's so funny. This time of the year, time starts to travel faster.
Yes.
It really does. I know, time's a fixed thing. No, it travels much faster during the holidays, and it's like it sneaks up on you. It's like all of a sudden, what the hell?
So 2 weeks from when this podcast airs will be Christmas Eve.
Oh my God, I'm not even ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You got all your presents bought,
I got everything
purchased? I don't see a Christmas tree.
No Christmas tree. I opted to not do a Christmas tree because this weekend it was already the December 7th, and I go, you know what? I'll be taking that thing down shortly after. It's not worth it. But I do have a Charlie Brown Christmas tree I'm going to put up.
Oh, perfect.
It works out perfect.
You could decorate the ficus.
But I do have lights for the ficus. I got a little Santa hat for Lorenzo. He's been asking for it.
That's right.
So, yeah. But the outside is nicely decorated. I got all my lights up and looking good. So as far as my neighbors know, it's Christmas on high over here.
That's right. All we need now is a little bit of snow on the ground, and it'll be perfect.
Oh, but there's snow on the mountains.
There is. How much? What's the base up at the top of Heavenly?
It's only like 2 feet, 1.5 feet.
That's not too good.
No, but it's early season.
Yeah, it's true.
But don't tell anybody. The skiing's been great.
It's true.
Yeah. It's I've been going at least once a week, and it's been really good. They're not a full footprint, nowhere near it yet, but with the base that we got and the man-made snow that they're able to make, the temperatures have been cold, holding the snow, which has been awesome. I know people have been up at Little Truckee Summit running snowmobiles because, up there by Meadow Lake, you're pushing, 7,000 feet plus.
Right.
So anything above 7,000 feet is pretty good. For early season.
I know Horton posted some videos of him.
He was crushing some POW.
Doing some backcountry stuff.
Yeah. So it's out there. You just got to get up in that 8,000 range, and it's good. But we got some more storms coming, and typically we don't get our big dumps until January.
Nope.
So yeah. So, good comments from our last episode with our wrong seat filler, Chris Ray. He had some great insight and stories, and like I say, it's going to be fun catching up on the lakebed with him and his drivers to see what all's up. We tried to get Justin Hall, but he's a family man. He's building a car, and he's crazy busy right now.
That's right.
We're going to have to catch up with him. He said maybe around Christmas time because he's got a couple weeks off.
Oh, good. All the drivers and teams are banging and clanging, and as I like to say, just the build up and lead up to King of the Hammers 2025. So if you're on the IG and you just follow all these people, whether it's Justin Hall or Justin Wicks, Eric Wicks, Randy
Eric's
Slauson.
not racing this year.
Eric's not?
No.
Car's not going to be ready?
Nope.
Oh, bummer. That's news.
That's all we're going to say about that. He's not a happy camper, but it's nothing against his fabricator, Keith. It's just getting parts.
I bet.
And 74 Will dropped the fucking ball. We'll just say that.
Oops.
So, anyways, but it could be a I know it sucks not to be racing again in the 4400 class, but it's going to give him time to get that car 100%, 1,000% dialed in and learn the car.
Absolutely.
So KOH 2026, which sounds crazy far away, but it really isn't. Hello. He's going to be one of the drivers to watch for sure. So, because he is hungry. He's hangry.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, it's always fun to see the technology change, the leaps in the car technology, and they hear the scuttlebutt about tube diameter change and tube wall thickness changes for safety, and of course weight restrictions on the cars or weight rules, all that stuff that's either truly evolved or it's just rumors. So I don't know that we have any confirmation on that stuff, but the cars are going to continue to evolve, and the teams will continue to evolve. So yeah, it gets more and more exciting every year. The cars get faster.
Oh yeah.
And, obviously Dave Cole has to try to adapt the race course to the advancements in car technology and the hunger of the teams, because, as the race, the teams, start the race in the morning and they kind of feel the car out and they see what their mechanical sympathy level is going to be like. And then as the race progresses, they kind of start putting the pedal to the metal, and, because they want to win, and it's always that target in the horizon, trying to find. I know Dave Cole wants to. He said on record that he wants to have the race finish in the dark, and I don't know that that's ever really happened, except for maybe in the early days.
Yeah, well, it's just there's a lot of logistics too. I mean, there were some good points brought up in the last podcast, but there's logistics too. So there's one thing to make the course hard, but then you got to think about spectators. They're not going to want to be out there for frickin', 15 hours watching a race either out on the course.
True.
And then think about, Turkey Claw, the log jam there. So, that doesn't make for great racing either. So, there's a lot of logistics and thought that goes into designing the course, in that we don't want to create a log jam. We don't want. You remember that one year? I think about with the log jam. Remember that crazy climb at the Reno, the Nationals in Reno?
At the Wild West Motorsport.
At the Wild West Motorsport Park, and Bailey Campbell, got all jacked up on that hillside stuck, and it just caused this log jam.
Yeah.
And that, we're sitting there in the stands, and it's like, okay, the race had to restart and all that stuff. So, you got to think about, lap traffic coming through the same trail like it did at Turkey Claw. So stuff like that. But yet, you want obstacles like that close, where spectators especially now that spectators are, getting more and more limited of where they can go out on the race course.
Absolutely. So the spectator locations are getting much more crowded than they have been in the past. Yep. And it's just, it turns into a shit show, and people's tempers can flare, and, the facilities and whatever. So
yeah, still the best seat in the house is Jumbotron in front of the fire, unless you got your own Starlink going and watching a TV live feed. But like you say, the live feed is getting so good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping there are more cars with Starlink that we get in-car footage this year. That's what would be exciting to see.
Yeah.
And definitely, love to see it in Randy's car. Love to see it in Shannon's car. Obviously Shear, in Berger's car. So
not just video, but mic'd up too.
Exactly. That would be great. So we'll see. Every year it's getting better and better.
Pay-per-view uncensored.
But anyways, yeah. So before there's we'll talk about prepping for KOH here. A very important aspect if you're towing. But you have a comment from a listener that you'd like to share.
I do. It came in on Spotify.
Good old Spotify.
Let me find that screen real quick. Yeah, if you'd like to leave comments on the show, you can, of course, do that on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I did the comment I read from Chris Horton a week or two ago about no comments being allowed on Podcast Addict. That's the client that I use to listen to podcasts. He's absolutely right. You cannot leave comments on that platform. But a great place to listen, of course, is Spotify, and you can leave feedback on all of our episodes there. And so we had a listener write in 3 days ago.
Oh, timely. We're caught up. See?
Yeah, we are.
I love it. We're finally getting caught up.
So this is a comment on episode 283, which of course you'll all remember was live music with Minden Mills.
That was yeah.
Jason got a little over.
I don't remember that episode. Was that this year?
Yeah, no, sometime. But what's cool is I'm sitting here in the home studio with Jason, and I actually have a small, very small glass of Minden Mills Rye that I opened up. So this is my first chance to try the.
And what do you think of that? Let's hear about that.
It's really good. It's a smooth rye.
You like it?
It's
where does that rank on your? And now the price point is $45.
Is it okay?
So where does that rank in your? Not that the price should influence you. I don't know why I said that, but I guess I was reiterating how good it is for $45. But you go ahead. I won't say any more.
So it's very mellow. It's one of the smoother ryes I've ever had.
Yeah.
Its alcohol content, I believe, is 90 proof.
Yep. It's in that range.
So this could be a very good daily sipper.
Pour it over your cornflakes in the morning.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, it's something you get home from work. You want to just unwind a little bit, crack open and pour yourself a little sniglet of Minden Mills Rye. You're not going to go wrong.
It's not going to break the budget.
Exactly.
So what whiskeys that you've had would you compare? Ryes, bourbons, whatever. What would you compare with that?
I think Old Elk would probably be ranked in that realm. Smoothness and
flavor.
The good profile.
It's got a good viscous on the tongue. It just like coats your tongue like in happiness. It like hugs your tongue. It hugs your tongue.
Are we getting all pornographic here?
I wasn't taking it there, but you are. Okay. Jesus. Freaking Lorenzo just walked out of the room.
Oh, that's yummy. I'm gonna have to. I don't have time to swing by.
Lorenzo wants to know why he's not day drinking with us.
'Cause he's in recovery.
You keep saying that. He's fully recovered. He's fully recovered.
From what?
Oh, he doesn't like you. He's gonna oh man, he's gonna kick you. You better watch out.
Anyway,
you're gonna get donkey kicked.
Minden Mills, I think we've gone to their website before, and you can order online and have it shipped to you.
You can. I highly recommend it. Their bourbon is excellent as well.
I would have tried that, but that bottle's a dead soldier.
That bottle got killed this weekend. I had some guest, the samurai couple that's no longer a samurai couple. James and Rhonda were here, and then Big Pete and his wife was here, and Kobe and Alicia were here. So we had a house full Saturday night. Had some ridiculously good steaks.
Good.
Good old Costco came through. They had rib cap, which was marbled up beautifully. So that's where they cut the top edge of that rib roast, and they roll it up. It's like a pinwheel, and they tie it with butcher string. And all I did was Kinder's Prime. You use the Prime seasoning. So, the regular Kinder's, the master blend, or whatever you want to say, the blend they call it, I think. It's just salt, pepper, garlic. Like, that's all I normally put on a steak, right?
That's all you need.
Montreal seasoning and stuff's good, but like you got a really good quality steak, salt, pepper, garlic. So this is black truffle. Has black truffle. It's salt, pepper, and black truffle essence in there. So it gives it that really rich, kicks it up a huge notch. So those went down with some really good red wine. Had some bourbon beforehand and a bourbon afterwards. And we were watching the shout out to Chasing 518, our friend of the podcast, Kevin Jones.
Ultra 4 Jones.
We were getting caught up with his YouTube channel there. So, and then Rhonda sent out a picture of James and I sleeping, but we weren't watching the channel then. We were watching Matt Rife at that point, but I was so freaking tired. I'm totally sidetracking, but I'll tell you, we went on a 100-mile, well, it was 90, let's call it 95-mile in the dirt ride. Side by side golf cart ride. It was a toy run. So I've been remiss because I haven't done the Esprit de Four toy run the last few years.
Right.
And that was always a good run, and they did it, and they had quite a few people. They meet, travel through the streets of San Jose to downtown San Jose, the Central Park down there, which is Cesar Chavez Park.
Christmas in the Park.
Christmas in the Park they have there, which is really cool. If you're anywhere near San Jose during the holidays, you should go check it out. All these different companies, Boy Scout, Girl Scout groups, you name it, military set up trees, and they decorate them. And then, of course, they got all kinds of, stuff for the kids to, gingerbread houses and scenes, elves dancing around, Christmas donkeys kicking ass. And then they got the ice rink down there. And then I think they have... I don't know if they have like a little Ferris wheel or something like that too sometimes. But anyways, it's a cool thing to go check out. But the Salvation, is it Salvation Army that does it?
I think
Stuff the Bus.
It's been a few years.
The Marines.
Yeah, the Marines.
It's the Marines that grab the toys, so it's super cool.
Drive up to the curb and they grab the toys.
Yeah, you just pull up and, they grab all the toys and we load them up and then we go out to lunch. So this year... the Sierra Nevada UTV group, that's a Facebook club. So there's a lot of off-road Facebook clubs that we've talked about, and it's
SF
just kind of
and whatnot. Yeah,
it's just kind of the lay of the land now. But it's cool because they were having a run right off of Johnson Lane, which is right near my house. So I could just hop in the side-by-side and drive right out my driveway to Johnson Lane. And there was about 25 rigs, I would say. And a bunch of toys. I mean, we filled up the back half to this car trailer. And there was people, I talked to people from Livermore that were right behind us.
Oh, cool.
So they were cool. We hung out with them all day. I know Nick and Daniel, I want to say the other guy's name is. I didn't write it down. I'm going to go with Daniel. Anyways, so we hung out. We were towards the front of the group. And, went out to the Minnesota mine. So there's so much cool stuff to go check out. And it amazes me how much the terrain varies out in the desert. And we got up to 70 miles an hour at one point.
Oh, good.
So that's fast enough in that golf cart for me. But golf cart did great. Handled so well. Pete's got 37s on his golf cart. I'm running 32s. And then we did a little rock crawling through a creek drainage area, trench, and it was great. It was a long day, but we were all running low on gas. In fact, some people had to splash some gas in. About 10 miles left in the ride.
Oh boy.
But I had enough. to get back home. I still have a bar showing on the gauge. I don't know, 2-3 gallons left. But it was a really cool day, and it was fun. So Daniel and Christy Hill are the organizers of Sierra Nevada UTV. So if you got a golf cart and you want to go check it out, so they do all kinds of different rides. The Virginia City ride we did over October, I talked about, that was great. So, anyways, something different and fun, but getting to explore the desert like that was pretty freaking cool. In the comfort of the suspension of the side-by-side. That's what James kept commenting. He was my right seat, and he was like, holy crap, this thing floats. And I go, yeah, it's kind of stupid.
It does. That's the first time I rode in that thing. We went over to Slosson's, and we were obviously doing everything in the desert, and there was this big G out coming up, and I'm like, start tensing. And that was before you had all the brackets installed or whatever.
Oh yeah, the stiffened up the suspension componentry. Yes,
and I know I got rigid, thinking this is going to be a hard hit, and this was going boop.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
and James
good.
has a bad back too, from all the damn people running into him on Highway 80 and Caltrans. So it's he was fine. I kept asking him, "Oh, you good? You good?" And he goes, "No, I'm good." I'm like, "Okay, right on. That's nice."
Well, that was a hell of a segue.
Yeah, I know. We went rabbit trail there, but I just thought about that, so it seemed to fit. So
let's get back to this.
Somehow
review.
we went to Minden Mills Rye Toy Run too. Let's get back to the review.
Back to the review that we started talking about 20 minutes ago. So this is from, I believe, well, I'm going to go with his screen name here, KVN Garrett, Garrett. He writes, "We had Whistle Pig smokestack that was not great.
Oh.
So we let it sit for a year on the shelf. Then we got back into it after that year, and it was fantastic." So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, wait a minute. That's the end of the review?
That's the end of the review. So I'm just curious. Yeah, that's the whole review. I never heard of bourbon's aging or anything once you bottle.
No. So, no. Hard alcohol in general, right? Like any hard alcohol, vodka, gin, bourbon, whiskey, Jack Daniels, whatever you're talking about. Once it is distilled and aged, like vodka is not aged in a barrel. That's why it's clear, because any alcohol that gets distilled or what comes out of a still, the alcohol is clear.
Mm-hmm.
Moonshine.
Correct.
And so what gives bourbon the color is aging in a barrel.
Right. What's been in the barrel, if it's a virgin barrel, if it's a
correct.
barrel.
How it's charred.
Exactly.
Is it an oak barrel? Is it a Hungarian oak barrel? Is it a pine barrel that you got from Uncle Wilford that
Costco
that adds a sappy finish?
Walmart.
You got on Temu.
Oh my god!
You got one of the little counter barrels, pine barrel to age your whiskey. But anyway, so then that's where the color comes from. It extracts that out of the barrel. So just like this good little. So that Minden Mill that you had is 4 years old.
Yeah.
That's like the minimum. 3 years is like the minimum, but 4 is like where things really start hitting the sweet spot. So, it takes a long time to extract that color and the flavor profile. And, that's where a lot of those butterscotch, vanilla, toffee notes come from, is the oak. So back to the original statement there that it was better a year later. I'm going to say their palate changed.
Okay.
Because people's palates change. I mean, stuff that I drank before that I thought I liked, I don't necessarily like now because my palate's evolved. So, for example, I started out with Scotch. I liked Scotch.
Sure.
Scotch. I love Scotch. And Ron Burgundy reference there. But I went back and I pulled out a Macallan 12.
Can't go wrong with Macallan
last
12.
week because I was like, wow, I haven't had Scotch in a long time. And it was good.
It is good.
It was really good. And then I did an 18 Glenfiddich that I had.
Ooh, I don't have that.
That was really good. So I'm kind of rediscovering Scotch again. But then I had another Scotch that I, liked. It was like my go-to, Glenlivet 12, just standard Glenlivet. And I was like, And the smoky scotches, I never really loved the smoky, deep smoke, but a little bit of smoke was okay. And now I'm like, but I like a smoked old fashioned. So I don't know. Your palate evolves is the story though. And I've talked to a lot of connoisseurs over the years. Not that I'm a connoisseur, but I've had a lot of different wines and whiskeys and stuff over the years. And your palate does evolve. So with that said, if that bottle was put in was exposed to air. So well,
once you open it, it's exposed to air.
Well, once you open it, it's exposed to air, but it's not like wine that just totally changes right away.
Correct.
When it's exposed to oxygen. So, but whiskey bottles, you'll see, even some of my whiskey bottles, I've seen water vapor.
I have too.
Condensation at the top of the bottle when you've got a half or less in your bottle. So that is changing. Okay, it's not changing a lot, but it is changing. So I'd be curious if they just poured like a couple drams, like just barely got below the neck of the bottle and then put it back on the shelf and then tried it again. I would venture to say that whiskey did not change at all. But if it was like halfway or below, yeah, it could have changed. But more than likely, their palate changed. Their palate evolved. Now, I will say one more thing. I think Whistle Pig is overrated. It's one of the most overrated whiskeys on the market for price point. I like Whistle Pig. Mm-hmm. I drink Whistle Pig if somebody's pouring it, like the Whistle Pig 6, like you can get at, most stores.
Well, you got it piggyback at Costco.
Piggyback 6-year Whistle Pig. It's fine. It's not my go-to, but if I'm at a party and it's there, I'll drink that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to pay the prices for what Whistle Pig gets. And then they do their, like they had the Pit Viper one, they've got a campfire one, they do those little, publicity deals or what do you want to say, advertising, working different angles.
Stuff or cachet stuff.
But there is a huge following. Whistle Pig is one of those cult followings. You get into the Boss Hog and fucking spend $1,500 on a bottle of whiskey. Have at it. You get the nice little Boss Hog pewter topper. And if that's what you like, then go for it. But I personally, I don't. That whiskey is not worth what it is. And Jefferson's another one that comes to mind that's getting up there in price. Mm-hmm. And I like Jefferson, but the prices don't. There's other whiskeys in that price range that I think are better, or at least better to my palate.
Yeah, no doubt. I know I've been looking at my collection at home, and I have a few bottles, just like everybody that's a regular bourbon or whiskey drinker. Some of them are getting a little on the low side. And one of my favorites is E.H. Taylor.
Yeah.
And I've been hunting for E.H. Taylor for months now on the hope that I can first find one or two and find them at a reasonable price. And that is like very frustrating.
If you want to take a little drive right across the valley here at Minden Meats, he has a bunch of E.H. Taylor.
Oh, does he? Because that's where I got my last bottle.
That's where it is. It's priced well.
Okay.
So and his selection down there is unbelievable. Kevin at Minden Meats, we talked about it before. His collection has grown immensely. I got to reconnect with him. I've been in there, a bunch of times since I've lived here, but I haven't got to sit down with him again. And then Battleborn Wines, which is just right down the street, almost kitty corner to him. Troy over there. I got to sit down with him. We've been DMing back and forth, so it'd be fun. Next time you're up, we need to make an appointment and go down there and do a podcast with him because he has a wealth of knowledge on wine and whiskey and any other alcohol,
that'd be a great one.
So, but yeah, I know where you can get some E.H. Taylor.
No, I might have to swing by there after I finish.
There you go.
Wrap up here.
Go make some bourbon purchases. But yeah, my collection has taken a huge hit. I've had a lot of guests this past year, and I've got a lot of bottles that have one or two pours left in them. And you saw there was 2 bottles empty.
Yep.
Sitting there. You got to throw in the trash tomorrow. Sad times here at the
well, there's plenty
studio.
Still plenty to go. So.
Fortunately. I don't know. I feel like I'm running low.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't
feel like I'm
so.
like at a quarter tank right now. And I've got a couple hundred more miles left.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. All right. It'll get me through the holidays at least.
Right. So, yeehaw. So that's the reviews. That's the only review I've got from Kevin.
Wow. So he didn't even comment on my excessive drinking that night.
Okay. That goes without saying.
Oh, okay. My slurring of speech. I needed to buy quite a few Vials that evening. That was fun. We're going to do that again. Tommy had a lot of fun. I talked to Mark. They both really were appreciative to be on the podcast, and it was great. Got a lot of great reviews, and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. So we should do. It'd be fun to do one down at Genoa Bar one night.
Oof.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Right on. Well, you want to get into the main topic?
Well, I don't know. It's just something I thought about. We were sitting here getting caught up with Biz Nass, and something that has been on my mind, and there I have questions. I'm no expert, but you and I have a lot of experience towing. We got a lot of road miles.
Oh, yeah.
With heavy loads. So just the truck and camper, but then you add a trailer and your 4-wheel drive on that trailer, and you're driving for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours for us. Now with King of the Hammers coming up, we've got people driving across the country, 3,000 miles.
And we've heard horror stories about some of those drives.
We watch on Instagram, and they're like, okay, King of the Hammers next week. We're getting loaded up. Okay, we're loaded up. All right, we're leaving. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. All right, day 1. Oh, blew a tire. Day 2, blew another tire. I would love, and if anybody has any contacts out there, I would love to have a quote-unquote tire expert. Now, I don't know if that's, a BFG guy. I mean, I know a BFG guy, but, or is that, Toyo or Nitto or Yokohama or whoever.
Right.
Like, or if it's an independent, like maybe it's a person that owns a tire store that's very educated in tires. So with full disclosure, we are not experts, but I will impart my experience of towing and tires. So,
and what to do in case of a blowout.
And well, yeah, you just fucking grab your ass and pray. No, so it's an interesting topic, and this, like I say, we're not going to cover everything today. But I was just talking to you pre-show and going, let's kind of dive into this. So this is an intro, if you will. So
Tires 101.
Tires 101 entry class. Welcome to your first day of school. But I've had this conversation with numerous people of what to inflate your tires to, right? Like I'm talking about on-road. Off-road is a whole nother, we all know air down for everything. Air down for what? Air down, bead locks, 2-4 PSI. Let's rock and roll.
Tire balls.
I'm talking about highway stuff here now.
Exactly.
Your tow rig and your trailer. So printed on the side of the tire, depending on what it's reading, right? You got
C, D, E, G.
Exactly. So like our tow rigs have E-rated tires.
Correct.
So those are 10-ply tires. Typically is 80 PSI cold.
Right.
So what the hell does that mean? 80 PSI cold.
I think, well, without being, again, we're prefacing this, we're not experts, we just know what we know. But cold is whatever ambient temperature is before you drive the vehicle any number of miles.
That is true. So that is sitting in your driveway, it's your truck, or we're going to say truck because you're towing with a truck. You're not towing with a fucking Prius. Towing with your truck. So your truck's sitting in the driveway overnight. In the morning, you check the tires.
Correct.
And you're getting ready for the trip. They should be at or near that 80 PSI number.
Correct.
For max load carrying capacity.
Which we are usually at max load.
Okay, so we're talking towing right now. I'm not talking about your daily going with your truck unloaded. Okay, so we're talking about towing. So for sake of this conversation, 80 PSI is what all 4 of your tires should be at.
Correct.
We have a cab over camper in the bed of our truck. Mm-hmm. So we are loaded down. Now, if you are, you got an open bed pickup with, just your ice chest and barbecue and a spare tire for your buggy and, 16 cases of Coors Light, Busch Latte.
Jesse.
That's fine. Whatever you're towing. But, you got to consider that weight. But for this conversation, we are talking about our pickup trucks with a 2,800 pound, 3,200 pound camper in the bed of the truck.
Correct.
So we want our max carrying capacity. So I make sure in the newer trucks, you can look on your dash and there's a TPMS sensor, right? Tire pressure. And then some of the new ones, they give, temperature as well. So 80 psi cold. Well, what happens when you drive?
Well, things heat up.
Tire heats up, exactly right. So,
and it also depends on how hot the day is.
Exactly.
Is it a cold winter day, which when we're driving to KOH, it's generally a cooler weather than if you'd be driving down to the desert in the middle of the summer when it's going to be 100 degrees.
Sure. So that's a good point. So 80 psi, like this morning, if I would have checked my tires and aired them up to 80 psi, it's 12 degrees outside. It's fucking cold.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Okay. Normally, we're not that, cold, but it is winter here in northern Nevada. So, with what's interesting is every 10 degrees, your tires change 2%. So, if it's colder, 10 degrees cooler, so let's say from 30 to 20, your tires change 2% roughly.
Okay.
Just as a rule of thumb.
Okay.
Don't hold my feet to the fire on this, but this is what I've been reading on the old interwebs.
And that's consistent, unless you have like nitrogen in your tires. Which,
okay, well now you just brought up a whole nother thing.
Right.
That was a later topic, but you brought it up now. So nitrogen does not expand
it's inert.
It is inert, right? So very, very good, Chris. Gold star for Chris.
I put helium in my tires so my truck's lighter.
There you go. I don't have to because I got a Luma Duty. It's really lightweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so same thing goes when your tire heats up. So as you drive away, your tire, every 5 minutes that your tire's on the road, and this is typical, this is from the old internet, it'll increase 1 to 2 psi.
Every 5 minutes?
Every 5 minutes for the first 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So your tire typically is going to increase 5 to, 10 psi, let's say, just driving.
Sure.
Normal. And we're not talking about dead of winter where we are right now, but, so what really, started questioning me, because I've talked to a lot of tire people over the years, and they're like, just air up the cold PSI 80, whatever, 80 PSI for this conversation. I agree wholeheartedly, and that's what I've done. I've had one blowout. That was going to Trail Hero a few years ago, and I've got a single rear wheel, truck. I'm not running dualies, and I had a rear tire basically delaminate. The tread came right off the fucking steel belted tire. Ooh. And that was a Michelin, and that was a known problem with that particular Michelin tire.
Those were the OEM tires.
Yes, OEM tire. And I felt as I was driving at roughly 60 miles an hour down the highway, there was this consistent vibration. It wasn't like wop 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 vibration. It was like da 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 da, and it was getting worse. And I go, okay, something's going. I mean, my spidey senses were up. Something's going south, and I'm thinking, is this tire? Is this driveline? Is this a transmission going? What's going on? But it wasn't that severe that I thought it was drivetrain component. And so I'm driving along, and it started to get worse. And I go, man, I got to pull over. As soon as I had that thought, the frickin', tire snake came right off.
Okay.
Just like it was a retread.
And that was on the driver's side.
It was driver's side. Was it driver's side? Yeah, driver's side rear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, driver's side rear. And so I'm like, oh shit. But it didn't I didn't lose control. I was kind of in between exits. It was like a mile and a quarter to the next exit. And so I'm like, oh shit. And I look down in my mirror and I could see wire tread. So I'm like, but the truck wasn't on the rim. I'm like, okay, I just lost the tread. So I'm like, I'm not going to I don't know how much air I got left in this tire, how long it's going to, because there was no indicator on the dash that we were losing air.
Oh, okay.
And it still had pressure. So, I went up to the tire monitor and it's like, oh, fuck, we still have pressure. So I'm like, okay, I slowed down to 40, 45 miles an hour, got to the next exit, and I'm like, okay, thank God, get me off the fucking freeway, because there wasn't much, shoulder to pull off on.
Were you were
and
on
safely change a tire.
near beyond Tehachapi at that
I was down there.
by Boron or something?
Boron, yes. I was near Boron, exactly. So I get off. There was an old abandoned gas station, and banjos were playing in the background. So I pull off
Sure got
there.
a pretty mouth.
And I'm like, okay, I found a concrete pad that was like perfectly level. Well, now, you got to jack up the truck with the weight of the camper on the back. Luckily, I had a floor jack with me. I had my impact wrench, my DeWalt. So I had all the Ugga-Duggas, was able to take that off. But what's difficult with a cab over camper that most people don't realize until
lowering the spare.
And luckily, I was able to raise the camper up just a little bit. I had to put the jacks down, raise the camper up enough so I could run the frickin' rod into the ass end of the bumper there to lower the spare tire down the cable. So, and luckily the tire had, like 75 PSI in it. Because who checks their spare under their truck?
The
PSI
banjos are getting louder.
Banjos were getting louder and closer. And so I put the spare tire on, bolted that up, and then now I'm doing a Google search of the closest good tire shop.
Yep.
I ended up finding an America's Tire, and they were super cool and hooked me up, and I ended up replacing both rear tires.
Okay.
And then when I got home, I replaced the front tires to match the rear because they did not have 4 tires.
Oh, they did. Oh,
they only had 2.
Oh, okay.
So I just replaced the rear. So that got me there. But anyway, so that was a side story. So towing with, I'll not name any individuals and throw them under the bus. And so we have a heated argument of the 80 PSI as you drive, your tires are increasing in air pressure.
They are, yeah, because they're
and heat.
Uh-huh.
And so this individual...
Because air expands when it gets hotter.
Exactly. And this individual is like dead set that blowouts are caused by overinflation. And when your 80 PSI cold tire gets up to 95, 100 PSI while you're driving down the highway, that you should lower that pressure back down to 80. And that is incorrect in my opinion.
I agree, because you think that these engineers that design these tires at Goodyear or BF Goodrich or any of the tire manufacturers, they're pretty smart people, and they kind of design the tires to those parameters.
Yes.
They're engineered that way.
Yes, and that is true. So what my findings on the interwebs is that an E-rated tire, which we're referring to here, 10-ply tire that's inflated to 80 PSI cold.
Correct.
They are engineered to be 2 to 3 times that PSI. So 160 to 240 PSI.
That'd be a hell of an explosion.
Right?
So have you ever been next to a big rig when their tires blow?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's scary.
It blows out, or it's usually the retread that comes off.
Yeah, I've been on 680 North in Fremont. I was sitting next to a big rig heading up the hill. It's an old grade, and a tire let go. It was like an explosion, man. Freaking shrapnel everywhere.
Yeah, it's violent. It is violent. And then hitting those, rubber snakes on the road is no fun either, and could cause damage. So here, example, going back to Trail Hero this year, it's hot, and had 80 PSI cold, left my driveway. We get down, we're on 395, or 95, I should say, and the over there by Area 51, the alien brothel.
Did you see any aliens?
I didn't see any aliens, but stop and I see my tire pressures are at 112, 110, 112
on the truck.
On the truck. So went up 32 pounds.
Yep.
30 pounds, 32 pounds.
What was the outside temperature?
It was fucking 100. It was hot.
Yeah, there you go.
Or 90 something. It was hot. We had that huge heat wave this Trail Hero, man. And anyways, so this individual is airing their tires back down, to like 85, 80, 85.
Yep.
And you go, man, it's too hot. And I'm like, no, I ain't touching my shit.
Well, then because you're gonna cool off and they're gonna be
Well,
below
that's
pressure.
that, and that's fine. But the point is, you don't have to do that because the tire is engineered to take. It's allowed to. They know that's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
So it's engineered for that. So, so my tire monitoring system, that little cheap Amazon setup that we have
for the trailer.
Yeah, and it saved my ass because I talked about it on the podcast before. I had a trailer tire get cut, and it immediately alerted me that, hey, you're losing air in this tire fast. And it bought me time to get off the road safely and change that tire in a gas station instead of on the side of the road.
Let's talk about that for a minute because I have a very recent experience with being on the side of the road. And this is, you just don't know with trailer tires. They take a beating. And generally speaking, when you buy a trailer, it's got the cheapest tires known to man, from whatever country you may or may not identify with. But I was up at Sierra Trek a few years back, and this is actually during COVID. And I remember I left a day before all of you guys.
Right.
And you guys went wheeling, and I was packing up camp and loading my trailer. And I remember hooking the Morflate up, checking the tires on the trailer, hooking my Morflate up, and equalizing all the trailer tires and double checking them before I left.
And as a little sidebar, that's exactly what I love about the Morflate is you can equalize all 4 tires, and on a trailer, that's key.
Exactly. And those were D-rated tires, so I had them inflated to 65 pounds, which is the max for those on the trailer.
Yeah.
Had them equalized. So before I left Meadow Lake, I checked every tire. I didn't see anything abnormal with them. And I had them properly inflated when I left Meadow Lake. On the drive home, I had no issues. I did notice a weird sound when I was coming down 80 into Loomis area. I was getting off to get fuel, and so I stopped at this gas station to fill up the truck, and I took a walk around and I checked all the tires looking for bulges or anything weird, bubbles and whatnot, and everything looked fine. I'm like, all right, I don't know what that was, but that was so spidey senses, as you said earlier, were kind of up. I finished filling and I got back on the freeway, and I got back on Interstate 80 into Sacramento and jumped on I-5 to head south towards Tracy. And I'm, you know where the big Love Station is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Stopped there several times.
Yeah. So right just before there, boom, and my truck starts shaking. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And so I'm looking around, and I said, well, the truck, I can see the tires with my rear view mirrors, my truck tires.
Yeah.
And if the front blew out. I had steering and everything.
That would suck.
And my 2 rear tires on the truck were fine. So it's okay, it's got to be the trailer, because I didn't have a TPMS at that point, so I didn't have any alerts that way. I pulled off onto the shoulder of I-5, not a good place to pull off. Very scary when you have big rigs going by at 70 miles an hour. And I took a walk around the truck, and I found that the rear trailer tire on the passenger side had left the chat violently.
Yep.
And I had checked it the day before in the evening, and it was good to go. So you just don't know. For whatever reason, that tire just let go. It wasn't that old. I don't think it had been abused, but those outside tires, the passenger side tires, take a beating if you turn short and you curb them. Mm-hmm. So, it could have had damage from being curbed. Who knows? Anyway, I made the decision at that point to change the tire on the side of the freeway, which I really shouldn't have done. I should have, because I still had 3 good tires. Yeah. I should have just driven to the next off-ramp and gone down and found a safe place off the freeway. Yeah. Fortunately, nothing bad happened, but it very easily could have. An inattentive big rig driver looking down at his phone. Oh, yeah. And that would have been a bad situation.
Doing anything on the side of the freeway is not a good spot.
So your PSA from this is, if it goes sideways and you still have 3 good tires, go slow and get off the freeway and get to someplace safe.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is. And trailer tires are notorious. So, I was kind of focusing on the truck tires, but just it's the same principle applies to the trailer tires. So with that TMS sensor that I have, that tire monitoring system. Great. It gives tire pressure and temperature.
Right.
So then that brought up another, because my truck only tells me pressure. Doesn't tell me about temperature. So what is a safe operating temperature for a tire? You got any idea?
I do not.
So, I saw temperatures. The highest I've ever seen on trailer tires is 120.
Well, that's pretty toasty.
You would think. 195 is like your max. Like that's where you're just getting into the red, if you will, or warning zone.
Okay.
195. You don't want to go above that number. Okay? 170 is like where you start getting worried.
Okay.
And it might be an indicator that, hey, you got low pressure and that can increase
or
the
a bad
heat,
bearing
right?
or something or
something. So 170 is like, okay, that you better be paying attention because this tire might be getting ready to blow. 195, it gets there and above. You better pull the fuck over and see what the hell's going on.
I would have pulled over earlier.
Right? But 120, you're totally comfortable.
Yeah.
Cruising. 125, 130, you're fine.
Okay.
Even 150. Okay? And we're talking in general here. Now, structural strength of the tire breaks down starting at 250 degrees. Okay?
Okay, so that's failure imminent.
That's like the structure of the tire is breaking down.
That's when you see tires.
When does a fucking tire fire begin?
300?
Close. 365 degrees.
Fuck.
365 degrees to melt a tire.
So you're baking a cake at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, just to give you an idea, so that was it. So, I get it, and if you don't know what you don't know, but after talking to people and our experience and stuff, it's like, okay, and then with this advent of, tire pressure monitors that you can monitor, from the driver's seat is pretty fucking cool and buys you some time if a tire is going out, hopefully. So, your PSI is going to grow, and that's going to be dependent on how much load you got on that tire and how hot it is outside.
Based on proper inflation.
Yeah, based on proper inflation. So, I left my house at 80 PSI and they were pushing, like I say, that 110, 120
Yep.
in the heat of the desert. So it was like, okay, but you're still technically fine.
Safe.
You're within your engineered standards. And then, like I say, tire temps of, 120, 130, not a problem. You're still well within that range. Mm-hmm. But I would love to hear if there are any tire, quote unquote, tire experts out there or other people's experience. I'd love for you to write in or call our number, which is what, Chris?
408-800-5169. Again, that's 408-800-5169.
Yeah. And it'd be fun to hear from a professional truck driver like Cody the Sand Squirrel, and I'm sure he's seen a lot of fucking tires blow on the highway, and I'm sure he's had some.
Oh yeah.
And being a truck driver, putting all those miles down and all the weight that they're carrying, I'd love to hear their input. What was interesting, and I talked about on a few podcasts ago, was I put those sensors on my enclosed trailer tires, and they're rubber valve stems.
Oh yeah.
And I had that one blowout here just recently heading down to SEMA, right? Las Vegas. Just sitting in camp. Luckily it blew in camp because it was violent and it let the air out immediately. I mean, that tire was flat within a couple, a minute. So, and Charles Locke wrote in to me on the IG, the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey account, and it says, I see it all the time. Rubber valve stems and TMS sensors do not play nice together because you got that extra weight.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
rotational
like much,
mass, right? That's wearing on that rubber valve core. So I have them now sitting on my workbench. I have metal valve stems to put in on all four of my tires on the enclosed trailer. Mm-hmm. My trailer, my open trailer, all metal valve stems already.
Okay.
So something to be as good as these TMS sensors are, but something to be aware of if you have rubber valve stems on your truck or your trailer that you're putting these on, might want to think twice about changing those out to metal valve cores.
That's my situation. I bought a TPMS system with 8 channels, so I got both the truck and the trailer.
Truck and trailer.
And so they play nice together, and but they're all rubber.
They're all rubber, so it's something you might want to think about.
And my goal, this TPMS system I bought is pretty flexible, that it can have the internal sensors on the tires.
Yeah.
So my goal is to get those on my truck.
There you go.
So I don't have to worry about the external units.
Right. That's even better. And then one thing I'm adamant about is keeping my trailer tires covered.
Yep,
because,
me too.
Trailers set a lot more than they're driving. So
Son's a bitch.
Yeah. So it's
UV rays.
Yeah, and if you make your own out of, some plywood, anything to keep the sun off your tires, they're cheap on Amazon, those plastic coated
like
cloth
30
covers.
or $40.
Totally worth it. Keeps the sun off of them and keeps the tires in better shape. Before I head out on a trip, I'm just religious about checking tire pressure and just making sure everything's where it should be. But one other thing I wanted to say was, and I kind of alluded to earlier, so when this time of the year in the winter, when I don't have my truck camper on as often and 80 PSI E-rated tires, I air my tires down to 65 in the back.
Yeah, I go
the
to
front,
60.
I'm still at 70 or 75 because of the weight of the engine and everything, big diesel engine. But the rear, because there's zero weight in the bed of that truck and going on these snowy roads and stuff, you get that better traction, wider footprint. Then we can get into wear patterns and stuff. But I haven't seen any ill effects of doing that. But before I put the camper back on, I'm airing my tires back up to 80 PSI.
Absolutely.
So
I do the same thing.
Yeah. And my enclosed trailer, I put a lot of miles on it. It still has the quote-unquote stock tires, whatever China rubber bombs it's got on there. And so, but my open trailer has Goodyear endurance tires. I've had really good success with those tires. And then this is a whole nother topic. I've talked to a lot of racers and stuff, and they're putting, G, H rated tires, 16 ply trailer tires on there. And yeah, but they're carrying a lot of weight and stuff too. So I guess
they just don't want to have any issues. The stronger tire is going to, take a little bit more abuse.
Well, that's it. And higher pressures. So depends on what you're towing. For the common folk, I think, you want to go crazy and put an F-rated tire on there. I think that's more than adequate. But, you got your, $250,000 plus race car on there, then and a bunch of gear and spare parts and everything.
And you want to be there for the starting line.
Yeah. And you're driving 3,000 miles across the country. I would love to hear what people experiences have been and what works and what hasn't worked. So, again, this is just dipping our toes in the water. I wanted to talk about this for a while and, do a deeper dive on it. But like anything else, it's people's personal experience that are putting miles down on the highway. I would love that input, and anybody that, has tire credentials.
Is that a thing?
There's people out there making tires, so let's hear from you.
Tire degree.
A
degree in rubber.
Turd degree. Because there's definitely more to learn here, and I want to know more. I want to know if I'm on the right path. I've been lucky, knock on wood. I've only had that truck tire go, but didn't leave me stranded. I was able to get off the freeway safely. And I've had one trailer tire go, and that was because I picked up a piece of metal, a significant, chunk of metal on the road that like cut the tire like a knife.
I remember we caught that tire in Hollister. We were sitting in camp, and I said, "Dude, what's wrong with your tire?" And I was on your blue trailer, your open trailer.
Yep.
And you looked at it, and it's like, holy shit, that thing had a giant bubble on it.
Yeah, the bubble in there. Yep, and so the tire was separating.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you changed it. Fortunately, you had a spare, and you changed it right there in camp at Area 5. And that was obviously a non-issue for you. Obviously, you got a new spare tire and whatnot. But, yeah, you just never know. And you hopefully you get lucky and you find the problem while you're not rolling down the road. And you can solve it without any drama on the side of the road.
Exactly. And then... along the lines of doing a little trailer maintenance there with keeping your trailer's tires covered, check your spare once in a while and make sure it has air pressure.
Exactly.
Because we forget about that stuff until we need it. And the worst thing is, oh, yeah, I got a spare, and you unbolt it, and it's got, 12 PSI in it because it hasn't been aired up in 4 years.
Exactly.
So check the pressure, get in the habit of when you're checking your tire pressures, to fill up your spare too, and check that. And same thing on your truck. Crawl under your truck and check your spare on your truck, because I guarantee, yep, I'm talking to you out there. I doubt anybody has checked their spare tire recently,
right,
on their vehicle. So,
and if you have a lock on your spare tire, make sure you have a correct key for it somewhere in your truck so you don't have a problem.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
get the grinder out.
Oh man, yeah. So there you have it. I don't know. You got anything else to add, Chris, at the moment?
Lube your balls.
Check your tire pressure and lube your balls. I think that pretty well covers it right now. If we don't have anything else, you got anything else? Nope. All right. We're
out.